So we've got two questions that came in about one of the newer tartans or older tartans out there. So I'm going to lump them both together here in this.
Okay.
So Thomas said, I'm sure you've already gotten this question a million times, so please forgive him. But are we going to see Glen Affrick in possibly PV down the road? And Seamus is saying, after the discovery of the Glen Affrick tartan, do you see a new effort to search out for more older examples of tartan in Scotland?
Okay.
I have thoughts on that.
Yes. Is it going to be available in PV? Probably not for the foreseeable future. Here's my guess. Well, basically, here's where it started. The cloth, the Glen Affrick tartan, was actually owned by the Scottish Tartans Authority. They essentially licensed the House of Edgar to be able to weave it. They worked together to make sure that the yarns were correct, the thread count was as close to accurate as possible, that the dyes used were nice, and that an accurate representation of the shades used way back when. However, so it's just essentially just House of Edgar, and 10% of the sales of the cloth get given to the Scottish Tartans Authority. So unless a mill that does PV is willing to pony up and donate to the Scottish Tartans Authority, probably not. Now, here is me Nostradamusing a little bit. I think that Pakistan will probably rip it off. I think that the kilt makers in Pakistan, they already use private tartans or tartans that are not really, supposed to be available, or tartans that are supposed to be exclusive to one company or another company.
Right.
They already use those without permission and then just sell them and push them forward. So if I had to guess, that will probably happen. Will we carry it? No, we would only do it through the proper channels. Now, never say never. So at some point, if it proves to have staying power, if the Glen Affrick tartan sticks around, it's stuck around for 500 years. But if it sticks around for commercially viable for a year or two, then I would have a discussion with Martin Mills and say, hey, would you guys want to do this? After I speak to Scottish Tartans Authority and kind of work something out, sure, potentially. But outside of a proper agreement in licensing and making sure the proper portion was given to the Scottish Tartans Authority, that we had their approval and that kind of thing, because I'm speaking out of turn here. I have not talked to them about any of this. But if that domino were to fall, then I could potentially spill whiskey on my lap. So I'm just going to go ahead and dump that on the floor real quick. That's spectacular. Gotta love that. We're going to do a take 2 on the show now. Indeed. So
special treat today, folks.
Yeah, special treat. Rocky changed his kilt mid-show.
Whiskey flavored sporran.
Indeed. If Matt is watching, go ahead and bring me a towel. I need one.
He just stepped away from his computer.
Don't wear that home tonight. You're going to get pulled over and you're like, I haven't had anything to drink, officer.
I swear.
Oh, yeah. Wow, that's a new one.
I've never spilled an entire glass of whiskey on myself.
In all seriousness, I am sympathetic. I'm terribly sorry.
It's all good.
Should be fine, but at the same time.
Oh, I'll laugh at myself all the time. It's fine. Yes. What was the other question about?
Dude, that sucks.
I'm more upset that I spilled the whiskey.
Yeah. Will the Glen Affrick tartan story, as it stands now, result in more historic tartans coming out? I think it might. But here's the deal. Glen Affrick is kind of unique in the sense that it had already been discovered as a specimen. And then what we've had happen in the last year is a result of motivated individuals going back and re-examining a specimen that had been languishing in an archive for ages, for decades. Will someone decide, maybe we should take a look at some of these other specimens we've got in the files? I think it's possible. But all research is the confluence of motivation and funding. Glen Affrick had the good fortune of having both. They had a powerful, the tartan had a powerful friend in the Dundee Museum, and the STA and people over there were willing to put some money behind it to make sure the research happened. That's not going to be as easy to do in every situation. So how much of this will happen or how quickly, I don't know. Finding new specimens in archaeology in situ, in sites, is always the hope, but those are becoming fewer and farther between. Development in Scotland's not that big a country, and development is making it harder and harder probably to find new archaeological evidence. Then again, you never know. So I hope that this sparks interest in doing more, but it will depend on those factors, basically motivation on the part of somebody who wants to see it happen and funding to make it happen.
I would take it a slightly different direction, and it could be done, and it could be done sooner rather than later. I think there could be a revival of some of the Wilsons of Bannockburn tartan patterns.
That's a completely different tack
but they
from
have,
what we're talking about, I think.
Yes and no. They have unnamed patterns. They're just pattern numbers within the old, Wilson's pattern books. So if there are older patterns that aren't, clan associated or things like that, I think there's a potential for those to come back, or have some niche interests within it, through historians, putting things forward and things like that. And I know Peter McDonald's done a couple runs of, I know he just did a McDonald one, and he had another one that was an unnamed pattern, but there are dozens of unnamed, unclaimed patterns from Wilson's, which could be, brought forth again. There's no copyright on them. There's nothing on them. So why not?
Now you say that, everybody's going to be jumping to copyright them. So.
No, you can't copyright someone else's work, especially if it's already in the public domain.
It's a different path from what I was imagining, but you're not wrong. I think you could see an interest in trying to produce in the flesh, in the wool, so to speak, of these tartans that have been on the books, so to say, for a long time. So
yeah,
how do you choose which one? That's the real question.
And how many other, we don't know. Like, questions to ask the Tartan Authority. Do you have a file cabinet drawer with hundreds of unclaimed tartans? What else is out there? What do we not know? What are you hiding? Come forward. So yeah, it's a question of, are they going to find something else? Are they going to do research on the thing that they find? Is there other things that are out there? Are there other tartans that are, languishing in the back of a drawer somewhere, or in a file, or in a file folder, or filing cabinet, or under someone's mattress? Who knows?
I don't think that a pattern in a book has the same magic in people's imagination as something that was an extant garment. I mean, part of the sizzle of Glen Affric is the fact that we know it was woven and worn by someone at such an early time period, and we have a tiny, highly flawed, but still we have a glimpse into the life of the time, and that's what makes it so mind-bogglingly amazing.
Yeah, the story.
Whereas Wilsons of Bannockburn number 73 is like, oh, cool. So I think it's going to have to look really good. I think it's going to have to be a beautiful tartan, because that's going to have to carry it. There's no story behind it other than saying, this is a tartan that came from the archives of the great late Wilsons of Bannockburn.
Well, here's my cynical response.
Yeah.
The Glen Affric tartan was just a tartan found in a peat bog, so
Right.
or forest kind of thing during the reforestation.
Mhm.
So it probably was, not Wilson's of Bannockburn, but maybe Schmilson's of Schmannockburn.
No, neither. It was homespun.
Or homespun.
There was no industry at the time.
Fine. So it was homespun, and it was just a normal pattern as well. You don't know what kind of garment or what it was from. We don't know, because we don't know it was a garment. It was just, handed over in a plastic bag.
Yeah, but it was on somebody's body.
You think it was?
It probably was.
What if it was like, one of the bandana you tie up and put it over the stick and you're walking down the trail?
There's a name
What
for
if
that.
it was
I can't
one of
remember
those?
what it is, but
I forget too, a bundle or whatever.
I don't know. Yeah, bundle.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. It's called a bundle. Anyway, I don't know. I mean, let's put it this way. Would you rather have a kilt made out of a tartan that was Wilsons of Bannockburn number 742, or would you have the recreation of a tartan found on a pair of trews, found on the body of a Jacobite who had died at Culloden? Okay? I mean,
Sure.
Which one is going to feel more like, get you in the gut? Okay,
I don't disagree, and if we find one of those, great. Versus it's the story you spin with it. It's the marketing that you put with it. So, or are you going to have, the Pretender tartan that House of Edgar came up with, which is the cover of that same pattern book.
Right.
Does it make you think of Bonnie Prince Charlie? What about the Appalachian folklore tartan and all the meaning and symbolism that went
But
into
that
that.
has a story.
I understand.
That was intentional.
So what you're saying is marketing has to drive the thing? It can't just be a gorgeous pattern for being a gorgeous pattern? You need spinsters like us to come out there and
yeah, but I think it
come
has
out
to
with
be.
the
It's
the
a
verbal
lot
magic?
easier. It's a lot easier when there's a story like involving a body. Death sells, folks. Death and
exactly.
sex.
You need a dead body in order for
But
the tartan to exist.
But again, like, Wilson, then you have to spin the story and get people excited about the fact that the pattern is from the time period it was, or the fact that Wilson's of Bannockburn was an important entity in the history of Scotland. It's just not quite as strong to my mind. Could you do it? Sure. Would I buy it? Probably. But because I happen to love that color palette, as Mac over here agrees. So, yeah.
I changed the green though. I don't like the green in it.
Really?
You don't like
the
the muted green?
I don't
like
like
the
that green in it. I think it should be more of an olive because I think it pairs better with the yellow and the rust.
So we need a
coloring.
palette that's going to be Mac. Bannockburn.
Exactly.
Or, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Mac of Bannockburn.
But
Interesting question.
yes, it could.
Either
occur.
way.
Oh, he meant the Glen Afric. He didn't like the green in it. Yes.
Oh,
was
I thought
talking
you were
about the Wilson-
Wilsons of Bannockburn.
Oh, the
palette.
Wilson. Oh, I love that green.
That's what. Yeah,
that
that's what
green.
we're talking about.
That
Yeah,
green. Sorry, I was
Totally confused me there.
Sorry, I was following questions down here too, and comments that were coming
Doing
in.
your job.
So Mac wasn't paying attention.
No, he was doing his job.
His job is to pay attention to us and them simultaneously.
Such a
He
geek.
must have a
Wow.
split brain.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyhow.
No, I think it could work. I think there's room. I hope to see more historical stuff come back. And whether it's Wilson's Bannockburn, because you could spin a whole story about the mill and the importance to the entire industry and how they thrust everything forward, along with the King's Visit, along with the Sobieskis working in tandem with the mills, and and you could spin that entire thing. The unclaimed, unfound tartan book, or find trues on dead guys. Okay.
We'll see.
Yes.
Here's hoping either way. Hey, thank you for watching. When we were talking about that, I just started to get more and more psyched up about archaeology in general. There is so much awesome inspiration out there for everything we do here, whether it's for a tartan or a piece of jewelry, a sporran idea. Tell us in the comments what you have seen in a museum or online that you would love to see in real life. Own it, wear it, and have your imagination inspired by the past.